Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are going to talk about non-contingent reinforcement. So, non-contingent reinforcement is utilizing those motivating operations, specifically an abolishing operation, to modify behavior before it happens. There are times when this is not appropriate or that we need to start with this but reduce it over time. But for every single problem behavior, maladaptive behavior, you need to have a non-contingent reinforcement strategy happening. It's one of the best antecedent techniques, and it's super, I like saying it's easy, but for sometimes it's difficult given the environment, but you still should try to work it out. Okay, what is non-contingent reinforcement? First, you need to know the function of the behavior. Once you know the function, it's simple. You're going to provide the function of the behavior on a time-based schedule independent of the behavior. Whatever reason they're engaging in this maladaptive behavior, you're going to give that to them freely and frequently. What happens is it reduces the problem behavior. It changes the motivation. So if I'm going to engage in tantrums to escape something, if I get breaks all day long, I don't even need to ask for it, I just get breaks, then there's no reason why I would engage in that tantrum anymore. Okay? And the beauty of this is behavior is communication. So when someone engages in tantrums for escape, they need a break. They're telling you, I need a break. And they don't have a better way to communicate. And when we get into differential reinforcement, we'll talk about how you will want to also reinforce them asking for the break as well. They know not to engage in the tantrum, just ask for the break. But before we get to that differential reinforcement, you want to start just giving them whatever they need. And so that behavior, without them having to engage, like say it or ask for it or pull a break card, they just get it. That behavior, then you're responding to the behavior, which is communication, in a way that's going to help them with their wants and needs in the moment. So how does it work? We deliver the reinforcement before the problem behavior, independent of behavior. I think people like add in like, oh, pull a break card. That's not NCR. That's just differential reinforcement. We have to give it to them non-contingent on behavior. They don't have to do anything to gain it. It reduces the motivation to engage in challenging behaviors. It operates as an AO on the behaviors, and they are diminished. It satisfies the individual's needs. So it helps the person get their needs met in an easy way. It will quickly diminish the behavior. You're modifying the environment to suit the person better. So if you think about this from an environmental perspective, this person is engaging in tantrums to get breaks or to escape things because the environment doesn't have enough breaks for them. The day's too packed. It's probably too hard. Too much academics are happening, amount that would be optimum for their learning. They know what they need. And so they're telling you what they need. So you want to start looking at things from that environmental perspective. We have 3 main types, but it can be anything. In general, we're usually doing one of these 3. I've also put NCR for an activity, but you could throw that into tangibles. The 2 access ones, so we could say NCR for access, but NCR for attention. This one is sometimes the harder one because it involves attention from a teacher or a parent. Providing attention regularly, such as talking, smiling, or brief interactions to reduce the need to seek attention through problem behavior. So when I'm working with a parent, basically, we kind of see how much are they engaging in problem behavior, and you want to do that much or a little bit more, and you put them on a fixed time schedule. Every hour for 3 minutes, you're going to provide uninterrupted positive attention to the child. They don't need to ask for it. It can be whatever works for them. Maybe you cuddle with them for a minute. Maybe you play a game with them. Maybe you talk to them a little bit. It just depends on that person's relationship with the learner you're working with. They're engaging in problem behavior to get mom's and her parents' attention. That way, they're not going to have to engage in problem behavior for that. NCR tangibles. So if they're engaging in problem behavior to access those tangibles, you can give them the tangible on a fixed time schedule. Whatever the problem behavior is, if they're tantruming for iPad 3 times a day, then you'll want to give them the iPad 4 times a day. So some fixed schedule makes sense within their schedule, and they won't engage in problem behavior to gain it. NCR escape is increasing breaks. So you're going to offer breaks or removal of demands regularly without non-contingently at a rate higher than the current problem behavior that they're engaging in to escape tasks. So NCR for attention is providing positive attention to the individual frequently on the set schedule. It doesn't matter what kind of behavior they're engaging in, they get the attention. This approach will reduce the need for the individual to seek attention through problem behavior. And I get this question a lot. What if it's time for attention, but they are engaging in problem behavior? You need to determine what you're going to do with that. Because if they're engaging in problem behavior and then you just go into your attention time schedule, it's going to reinforce the problem behavior. So most of the time I tell parents or teachers to wait until a little bit of time has passed. Don't forget or not give it to them. Wait till they calm down from the problem behavior, maybe 20 minutes after, just give them attention and go back to your schedule. This one I've seen a lot. Sometimes in a classroom environment, they want peer attention. You can't really do this for peer attention, but you can give teacher attention instead and see if that helps. Even though they're making fart jokes or weird jokes just to get their peers to laugh and it's disruptive to class, you're not going to get the peers in the classroom to give them attention on a fixed schedule. That would be really hard. If someone does that, props to you. I don't know how I'd figure that out. You could get the teacher or an instructional aide or someone else in the classroom, an adult in the classroom, to give them the attention. Though it's probably not as good as peer attention, it's better than nothing. Escape, maintain behaviors, providing breaks or reduce demands at set times can help reduce the need for individuals with escape, maintain behavior to engage in problem behavior to avoid tasks. This strategy is known as NCR for escape, maintain behavior. Okay, so we embed more breaks within their schedule and reduce demands across their schedule as well. If you have parents on a fixed time schedule and it's working well, they can continue until the kid matures enough where they don't engage in problem behavior for attention. Like that's one that can just kind of always happen. Some of these, we can't always do them because they have to learn more or eventually do these harder demands. So there's ways to fade this out. And what we fade this out is we reduce the breaks down. We start with lots of breaks and then we slowly reduce it down. If we get problem behavior, we go back and make sure that with these demands that they know how to do them. If it's I don't know how to do this, then we need to teach them. Like we have to break down the skill more and teach slower. You try to modify the environment to make sure that they're learning appropriately for whatever these demands are, or if it's like washing their hair or self-help skills, engage in teaching behavior so they learn how to do it in a way that doesn't hurt their eyes. I've had a lot of kids with the shampoo issue. Shampoo hurts. Gosh, eyes hurt. But you can also look at how can we modify the environment so that whatever they don't like about it is gone. For the shampoo, I made everyone buy the visors. I even made a giant visor for a big kid. So the visors, you put all the hair on top and there's a visor and then you wash the hair and all the soap goes off the visor. And yeah, you have a teenager who can't regular wash their hair, but it hurts their eyes. We can create this visor so that their eyes don't hurt. And so if they were engaging in behaviors to escape hair washing, I would embed more breaks into all their hygiene routines. I'd also look at ways to modify what they need to do so it's more comfortable to them. This is often done with multiple things going on. Tangible. So we provide the tangible. There's a lot of electronics here, right? And so we get into this problem of okay, I'm gonna give them more iPad, but we can't have iPad all day, right? Nobody should have that. Yes, we increase their schedule, for the electronic. Sometimes it's other things. And then that typically you might be able to just leave that in place. Like they really, really like drawing. So we increase the amount of time they can draw every day, or we allow them more drawing time. It's their schedule forever. They just get to draw more, which they like, and that's perfect. So it really depends on what it is, like if you're going to even fade this. If it's electronics and you do have to eventually fade it, is you'll do a really heavy schedule at first to get rid of the behavior. Once you get rid of the behavior, you slowly reduce that schedule, and then you back up if you see the problem behavior again. And you just keep doing that until you've reduced the schedule to whatever they need naturally. Whatever the environment's going to give them long term. So you identify the maintaining reinforcer. You can't do this without a function. So you need a pretty good function, and you have to feel very confident in your function. You collect baseline data, observe how often the problem behavior typically occurs based on needing that reinforcer, and then you do a delivery schedule, and you want to put it a little higher than the problem behavior rate. So they get their reinforcer more than they're engaging in the problem behavior. So this, it's a behavior reduction procedure without punishment, not contingent on behavior. You don't have to do a DR. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It decreases their motivation to engage in those challenging behaviors. It does build real positive relationships. Like teachers, staff, parents, they usually get it. They don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. They usually like this. It's going to help your relationship with the learner as well, because you're listening to what their behavior means and giving them what they need. It creates positive relationships and interactions. This one's really easy to implement, and you can do it anywhere, really. Behavior change, you're using MOs and non-contingent reinforcement here. You change the value of a reinforcer and the likelihood of the behavior occurring through an MO. We're going to use the non-contingent reinforcement to weaken the reinforcer, maintaining the problem behavior. And we're going to use MOs and NCRs to reduce problem behavior and increase desired behavior. So how it works is we're looking at those MOs, and once they have strong motivation, we'll decrease that likelihood of problem behavior. It provides them their reinforcers, so they don't need to engage in the problem behavior. And then with motivation reduced, the problem behavior is less likely to occur. Here's an example. So we have a strong motivation for attention. The child is yelling to get attention in like a classroom setting. So we provide frequent attention. So it satisfies the motivation for extra attention. I would have the teacher provide the student attention like every 30 minutes for a couple minutes, or an instructional aid, and then the yelling then decreases because there's no reason to engage in that behavior anymore. Consistency is the number one thing here. You have to be consistent and deliver. If you stop delivering, it will not work. Sometimes when it involves attention, we forget. So we always have a clock, and the clock like beeps at us or something, timer, whatnot. So we know when to deliver reinforcement, and we're consistent across staff members. We train others to do this. And then you're also going to fade the schedule over time. So you're going to increase the interval between your NCR delivery as the behavior improves. So that's how you would fade this. However, there are times when you don't need to fade this. You can just have this forever, and this can be part of their schedule. And then you want to combine it with other methods. So you want to make sure that they're learning a way to communicate to get their wants and needs. Okay, thank you very much.